Hello, hello. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time of day it happens to be uh, when you decided to click on this video. Um, the story I want to tell, in keeping in line with the theme, at least from the past few videos, has to do with me and my mother again. I think it's the second ghost story or strange video that I posted. I told the story of when I woke up and heard someone breathing, and told my mother that story later that day, and she asked me if I remembered a story that I didn't. To this day, I don't remember it, but she told me something that happened when I was very young that she was part of. Um, this is another one of those stories that didn't happen just me alone. I think the next one I'm going to tell is one that took place in the same house, but it was just me. But I was using my mother's book at the time. You'll see on the next video. Um, so my mother wasn't the kind of person who would I mean, she could be funny and she could, speak in jest and whatnot, but she wouldn't have kept this thing going for that long. If she had done what I'm about to tell you, she would have said ha 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 and let me in on it. So here's the story. I was staying up pretty much all night at this point in time. I had had my lung collapse uh, twice when I was 17 years old. I was probably 18 or 19, if I remember correctly, when this took place. I know it was shortly in the year or two that followed that. So I was up and I was watching something on TV. This is back in 96, maybe, 96, 97. Uh, this is back in the day when you couldn't just pause whatever you were watching. We didn't have direct TV and Netflix and all of that. So if you were watching something and a commercial came on, that was your chance to run and do something and come back and watch what you were watching. So that was the case this evening, I remember. And I was hungry. I remember I was watching TV. It was probably like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm watching something and I decided to go steam some broccoli. So I go to the kitchen. I'm in between, during commercials, I'm preparing my broccoli with butter, I believe it was, and salt. It was real simple. But I steamed it. And I remember when I went to put my broccoli in my bowl to bring it back into the living room to continue watching what I was watching, to eat it, I knocked over my mom on the counter of her kitchen had it was strawberry frosting, like an unopened container of strawberry frosting, icing that you put on a cake. And on the top was this heart-shaped plastic container. I guess it was like free sprinkles that came with your frosting. And it had little heart-shaped sprinkles in it, right? Little candy hearts that you put on top of your frosting, your cake, when you're done. And I knocked that over when I was putting the broccoli into my bowl. And these hearts, the plastic container broke and the hearts went all over. There was the counter was, I was at the corner of the counter. And so right at the corner on the floor right there, hearts went everywhere. But I was really interested in getting back into the living room to finish watching what I was watching. So I went back in there and I thought to myself, I'll pick that up in a minute. I didn't pick it up in a minute. I kept watching whatever I was watching and forgot about it. Fast forward to 5:30 in the morning, whatever time my mom got up. And she wakes up and she comes into the kitchen and I heard her immediately, Jonathan. And it clicked with me. I was like, oh, I didn't clean that up. So I went straight to the vacuum cleaner and brought the vacuum cleaner into the kitchen and undid the hose nozzle thing, and I proceeded to vacuum up all of these candy hearts that were on the floor. My mother watched me do it. And she went on with her day. Like I said, I was pretty much nocturnal at the time. I was staying up all night. And so I went to bed after I did that. Fast forward now again to about 5 o'clock in the evening that day. I had been sleeping all day. My mother had just gotten home from being out all day, and she came and woke me up. And my mom never came and woke me up at this time. Like I would wake up when I woke up, and she really wasn't messing with me at all. You know what I mean? I mean, we were talking and whatnot, but she wasn't interfering with my sleep patterns or anything like that. But this day, she came and she woke me up, and she said, I remember the look on her face, and she was like, Jonathan, did you do anything in the kitchen after you vacuumed up all those hearts? I said, what are you talking about? And she said, come here, come see. So my mom was adamant that I come see what's going on in the kitchen at this point. So I woke up groggy and walked into the kitchen, and all the hearts that I had vacuumed up in front of my mother were back on the floor. Which, there are only two possibilities here. Either my mother went and there was no other, container of frosting with plastic, a plastic container of hearts on the counter. She didn't have one. So either she had one of those hidden or went and bought another one and threw the hearts all over the ground just to fuck with me. Or something weird happened, which has been a common theme throughout my life. And that's why I'm telling this story, because I believe something weird happened. And she, in that moment, looked at me and spoke to me in a way as if something weird happened. And, my mother lived for 20 some odd more years after that, almost 30 years after that. Never let on that she went and bought hearts and threw them over the floor to fuck with me. So how did the hearts get there? Nobody else knew. There wasn't anybody else in the house that saw what was going on, and this fell right in line with a lot of the really strange things. And this is one of those things that, I guess the story I told last, about the disappearing rock and whatnot, had to do with physical things being manipulated in a way, if you will. But, this is one of those, same thing. It's one thing to see something. It's one thing to hear somebody breathing or a whisper and then not hear it anymore. It's another thing to see matter, your physical reality, messed with. And you have to look at that and go, well, that doesn't make any sense. That goes against the laws of physics. And you know what I mean? It's like, what do you do with that? We didn't know what to do with that. And, at the time, there were some things I was reading about ghosts, about paranormal, about the spirit realm, about fairies and elves and, Celtic culture, and even Native American folk tales. There are things, and I remember, this is something I could go into later, because there's more to this story, but two of the cultures that I felt really drawn to at that time were Native American folk tales and stories like that, and Celtic. And I was noticing similarities between those two cultures, even though they're on, different continents and had different terminology for the phenomena they were experiencing. It was very similar. If you pay attention to the stories, I remember seeing similarities and going, oh, these are two different human tribes, if you will, that they're going through the same stuff. They just have their own language and terminology to describe it. So yeah, I guess that's that story. Again, I start a video with the intention, I knew what story I was going to tell, and told myself that I would, again, the same old bullshit every time I get to the end of my video. uh, I told myself at the beginning of this series that I was going to recommend a song, and I never know where I'm going to go with this. Man, I don't know. I wasn't thinking musically when I went to tell this story. I got nothing. I'm not in a musical headspace at all right now. Maybe this one. Maybe listen to my. It's not my song, because I think a song implies singing, right? You have to have words, and I feel like I'm in pieces right now. I'm in the storytelling mode, and I'm not in the musical mode. But I have an improvisation. If you go down in my channel, or you just type in to YouTube Jonathan Compter, my name, as you'll see on my channel, and type in "Rip Us into Pieces." It's a because it's the first thing that came to mind because of the title, and it's an improvisation. I had no idea what I was going to play when I played it. It's just me with a guitar and an effects processor with a little delay on it, and a loop processor, a loop station. And interestingly, all of my, if you find videos below this of me playing guitar, and you see me playing guitar and it's just music, all of those are improvisations. I didn't know what I was going to play at the beginning. I think there's one, I might have one down there where I knew I had an idea of what I was going to play at first, and then I kind of riffed over it. But in the same way, every time I finished recording one of those, before I posted it, when I decided I was going to post one, I would improv the title too. Whatever came to mind when I was posting it, I would just, that's what it became. And this, for whatever reason, because it doesn't sound like that song, but I was, for some reason, the song Little Earthquakes by Tori Amos came into mind when I was posting that. And there's a lyric in that song that says, doesn't take much to rip us into pieces. And so I thought, well, I'll just call this one Rip Us into Pieces. Some people may not know that. Some people may not know this video. Some people listening might know what I'm talking about. It's one of my videos that has more views than the others. Not that I have a vast amount of views. Blah, blah, blah. On I go. So yeah, there's my story about me and the Candy Hearts and my mom. I hope it was conveyed properly. I hope that I made some kind of sense out of the nonsense that it seems to be. And yeah, I guess that's it. Take care.